nutritional therapist, and the name of my practice is also the same as the name of this broadcast, which is stands for Sugar Addiction is Real. It is SARNT, SAIRNT, stands for Sugar Addiction is Real. And so, but anyway, so that's the name of the broadcast. And so what we're doing today, what are we doing today? We don't have a guest today, but I do want to tell you about next week's guest. Just a little bit of housekeeping. We'll just run through this really quickly, as we usually do. You can follow us on HAPS here at SAIRNT. Also, you can find us on Facebook at SAIRNT, YouTube at SAIRNT, on Instagram at Some Sweet Foods, and Twitter at Some Sweet Foods. Yes, so those are the locations where you can catch us live. And if you want to get a hold of the rebroadcast, that will be the audio version, and that is our podcast, and it is SAIRNT, and it stands for Sugar Addiction is Real Nutritional Therapy. And you can get that on all of your podcast networks. Let's see if I can get that light to do a little bit better there. Yeah, okay, that might be a little better. So yeah, so you can get that wherever you get your podcast from. All right, and so let me tell you about the guests that we're having next week. So I do have two guests lined up next week, and you know we see our guests here on Tuesdays and Thursdays this year. And next week I have coming onto the show next week, which on Tuesday, December 7th, Cassie Christopher. She's a registered dietitian and a health coach. And then on Thursday, which is December the 9th, I have Gina Newton, and she's a certified personal trainer and holistic lifestyle coach. So they're going to be here with us sharing their stories, and information that can help us to do better and help us as we endeavor to make better choices. It is that time of the year, you know, where you really have to buckle down and think about what it is that you're doing, because we don't really run into this too many let me see, at that often in the year, throughout the year, you know. Maybe let's see, we look at the holidays, you know, Easter. There's usually a lot of goodies and sweets and things around Easter. So that may be like one of the first ones after we pass by Thanksgiving, you know, Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. But then, you know, then we run into Easter. But then after that, there's really not a lot. Oh, well, I forgot Valentine's Day is before Easter. So Valentine's Day, then Easter. And then after that, we have, you know, kind of like a clear shot where we're really not inundated with a lot of candy. I mean, there's a little, you know, treats here and there for 4th of July. But you're not inundated with like the candy the way that you are, though. Well, that's like half of the year, right? October, November, December, and then February, and then March or April for Easter. So yeah, that's like half of the year. So half of the year we're inundated with these opportunities, or you know, where they're saying get your sweet treats. I mean, you know, because it's everywhere, right? So but we you know, so this time of the year we really want to be careful about the sweets, and you know how much we're consuming. Don't overdo it just because it's the holidays, which will, you know, tend to be everybody's tendency, you know, because it's there and temptations are so much. So I just want to admonish you on that, to just remind you, make sure that you're drinking your water, right? You need to get 4 of these per day. This is a 16 ounce, let me see, 16.9 ounce bottle. So that will give you enough water for, you know, when you drink 4 of these per day, that's enough water. And you guys, you know, hold me accountable too. You know, put in the chat and say, hey, did you drink your water today? Because by this time I should have had that water, right? So, you know, hold me accountable. And also post in the chat, let me know where it is that you're coming from. Let's have conversation here. So that's someone asked yesterday, and I did want to get back into this because we're going to continue with what I just mentioned yesterday because I was intending to do that on today, where I had read the article, which I didn't pull that up today, but about with the various brands where they found cadmium in the spinach, and so a question was posed: what is cadmium? And it is a heavy metal. But then I was like not sure, and I said I would look around and do research to find out exactly how the cadmium is, or how the cadmium, arsenic, and lead are getting into the food. And I just wanted to be sure on that particular point because I know that there are a lot of surface toxins that can be on the food and we can wash them away. But this happens to be one that I just wasn't, I just wanted to, for clarity's sake, to get some background information and some information that will help us so that we can know how these things are occurring and how this is getting into our food. So, because these metals are naturally occurring, they're in the environment. So, how do they actually get into the food? They infiltrate the water. They're in the air, and so therefore they're going to be in the dirt. So if it's in the water and it's in the air, it's going to be in the soil as well, and that's just because of all of the pollution. And so then it is absorbed by the plant. So it just comes right in through the root system, from the soil, from the water, from the air. It just comes right into the root system of the plants. And you know that plants are filled with, chlorophyll and all of that good stuff. Let me make sure I'm not muted because I see a mute here on my thing. But and plants clean the atmosphere. So they're really good for that, for cleaning the atmosphere. So they absorb that. But these things happen to be something that when they absorb it, then when we eat the plants, then we end up getting more of it than we need. But these things are not, when they get into our water, it affects other things as well. So that means that it would be not only in the plants, but in those things that eat the plants. So whatever it is that would eat a particular plant that would have that, then that, if that meat source that would be a meat source for us, if you're not vegan, would then have that in it as well. And if you eat seafood, then since the pollutants get into the water, it would tend to get into the seafood supply, and one of those is methyl mercury, that would be getting into the seafood, because we've heard about tuna with mercury, high levels of mercury and things like that. So um, so let's talk about some of these. The question was, what was cadmium? And so I'm pulling open my notes here. And mostly what I have here is about it being in the food, and about the toxicity. But give me just one moment. So California is really good about trying to keep these chemicals, about doing things, because I know that on a lot of things that I have to do for California, they have strict regulations on food and on just about anything. If it's known to cause cancer, or a sickness or a disease, California is really strict about it being regulated, and about you labeling it as such, so that the consumer is aware, so making the consumers aware. So they're really good about that. And of course, I did mention yesterday that New York is one that is really strict about that as far as herbs are concerned as well. So those two places are really on top of the game as far as it looking out for the consumers, with those with products, at least with certain products. So why should we worry about lead and cadmium? Well, they're known to cause birth defects, and we know lead. We heard about the water issue in Flint, which still has yet to be resolved or fixed, right? So they had lead, and you heard of everything that it was doing to the children. But lead is widely recognized as the single most significant environmental health threat to children. We know that. I don't know what it is about lead that makes it so tasty to children. That was a big issue about, with paint, right? Because the paint would flake off and kids would eat the paint and then get lead poisoning, which is why now if you go to buy a house and it was built before, well, I don't even know if it has to be built before a certain year, but you have to sign a disclosure statement about paint with the FHA, right? So if you're buying a house and it's FHA, you have to have this lead paint disclosure statement. And so I don't know what it is about it that makes it so tasty. I mean, we know that kids would tend to put anything in their mouth, but why they would just eat lead. So I don't know if it coats the palate and makes something taste sweet. I really don't know. But good thing for us is that they don't make paints anymore with lead like that. So that really shouldn't be a problem. But in older houses where there is paint that would be chipping, that would be something that you would really be concerned about, if you are in an older house and the paint is chipping, especially even if it's got several layers of new paint on it. Then underneath, if it chips down to the bottom layer, then there's lead underneath. It may have been covered up, but there would be lead underneath. So, but lead, um, this says here that there is no safe lead level in children, not none. So zilch is the amount of exposure for children. So lead exposure has been a significant public health issue for decades and is associated with neurological impairment such as learning disabilities and lower IQ, even when ingested at low levels. So no matter what, lead is very dangerous, and it's not something that we would want, that you would want your child to get a hold of. And a matter of fact, pencils are, we call pencils lead pencils or whatever, but pencils are not made with lead. They're made with, I think it's graphite, but it's not lead. Chronic exposure to cadmium can cause kidney, liver, and bone damage in humans, and children are more susceptible to the effect of exposure to low doses of cadmium over time. And also, cadmium causes developmental problems such as decreased birth weight and it harms to neural behavioral development, so, and male reproductive toxicity, and all of which, so this is what they've studied and what they've seen in animals. So both lead and cadmium accumulate in the body over time, and the total body burden of these heavy metals, um, increasing the total body burden of these heavy metals over decades. Ingesting even small amounts of these metals will add to existing body burdens and should be avoided, which just simply means that it's just going to make you it's going to make you sick. And as and I did look here, how long it takes for cadmium to get out of the body. How long does it take for it to exit the body if you were not trying to hasten its exit? And that's about 38 years, right? And how long does it take lead? About 25 to 30 years. So it's not going to just exit the body like that. So, what are the sources of lead and cadmium? Lead and cadmium are toxic heavy metals again, and they're released into the environment through man made industrial processes, including mining, burning fossil fuels such as coal or oil. That's why we're, like when they do all this stuff for clean energy. I know there are people out there say, hey, we don't want the coal mines to shut down, we don't want the oil and all of that, but those fossil fuels, I mean, that's what's releasing this stuff into our environment. The coal and the oil burning, you could for fuel sources, I mean, I think cleaner fuel sources, and I'm not going to jump on that bandwagon, and don't nobody come for me because I can have my opinion, and if you don't like it, but cleaner fuel sources such as wind, water, and air, those are clean, and the sun, right? Well, wind is air, right? So wind, water, and solar, those are the clean energy sources that we could actually take advantage of. um, I lived in Colorado for a while, and I wanted to have like one of those, wanted to get one of those rain barrels to collect the water, right? So that, we could reuse the water. But they told me that the water, which fell from the sky, rain that fell from the sky over my house, right? They told me that I could not put a rain barrel out there to collect the water. If they did, I would be fine because the water that fell from the sky, not through anything that they do, right? That the water that fell from the sky belonged to the state. The water that fell from the sky, the rain that fell from the sky belonged to the state. And I would be in violation, breaking the law for collecting rainwater at my house. Because, and I was like, well, why? It's here at my house. And they were like, because that water has to be allowed to hit the ground so that it can then run off and run back to the rivers and streams. So it was illegal for me to collect rainwater. So, so they make it really hard for you to do things with, to do things like this with the natural energy things. I mean, but now, they are doing stuff with solar. So, they have all these little programs out there that if you own your home, you can get solar panels and then sell the energy back to the, back to the state. And I mean, that's what, that big company Tesla, is all about when they're not trying to, shoot somebody into Mars, right? They're about trying to do electric energy, solar energy, and stuff like that. I mean, Tesla's not the only, but they did have some. I think I'm not sure what the company was, but they had some beautiful um, roof tiles that were solar tiles, and then this bank of batteries in your house that you could use for energy. I'm into all of this clean energy stuff. I really love it. I really do love that. Um, but um, but there are clean energy sources that we can use, and so I've done studies on all of this, and I would love to have a big windmill. I've seen this big flower windmill and all of that. I would love to have a windmill, but nonetheless, those are some sources, but they're very expensive. So we use what we. It's not economical, and it's not affordable for everyone, not yet. But so we use the sources that we have. But that's what's causing the pollution, and that's why we're finding more and more of this in our foods, because we have cars, we have, we're burning fuel in our cars, and that creates pollution. And I came from Colorado, and Colorado is one of the, and even though it's beautiful with all the mountains and all of that, it's one of the places that has the worst pollution in the US, and I didn't know that when I was living there. Should have known. I could feel it, but I didn't know that when I was living there. But but it's got one of the highest pollution levels in the country. So, and it's beautiful, filled with mountains, but yeah, very polluted because there's a lot of burn off there, burning of, forest fires, things like that. So yeah, it's a lot of pollution there. But anyway, but so, but that's how we get that. So, incineration of municipal waste, when you burn waste, plastics, batteries, that, that's going to give off some fossil or some, pollution. And manufacturing and smelting, whatever smelting, that's burning the metals and melting down metals and stuff. The largest source of airborne cadmium is going to come from that, right? Among others. And lead and cadmium, that's how they enter the soil through the disposal of sewage, sludge, or the application of pesticides. which we know there are a lot of, or phosphate fertilizers. So, and that's what I was thinking if it was just on the surface, but no, it's all through the plant. Anyway, so the next thing is once it's released in the atmosphere, um, those particles, the airborne particles, attach to the dust, and it just travels throughout the the earth, and it's just goes everywhere, and it's just and then it's deposited on the ground, and then it just moves through the soil layers and where it's at when the seeds are sown, as trying to get its food from the trying to get its minerals and all that stuff from the dirt, and that's where how it gets there. So, and again, these things do not break down easily, and they remain for decades. So, and we're exposed to it through ingestion from food as well as through contaminated water and soil. And again, the lead and cadmium in food, it doesn't discriminate, right? So it doesn't matter whether your food is organic, right? Certified organic, natural, non-organic. It doesn't matter. That's not a that It doesn't matter. One or both of these metals have been found in various foods, including baby foods made with carrots, peaches, pears, and sweet potatoes, dietary supplements, vitamins, protein powders, seaweed snacks, ginger cookies, packaged peaches and pears, various fruit juices, as well as chocolate. Because chocolate comes from a plant, grows on trees, right? Another way we're exposed to lead and cadmium is through the inhalation, so the dust from the pollution. And cadmium is present in cigarette smoke. I mean, I always say that's the one thing that can mess up good, clean air, if the air was clean. But you could be breathing freely for me, and then I walk past. I mean, just the cigarette smoke, it just like takes my breath away. It's horrid, but you know, but that's how it gets there. So that you know that. Um, and I think that there was again, there was a petition that was put out by the Consumer Reports, and I did link that to the original broadcast that I did. I did put that link down there for that report, so you could go and read that for yourself. That you and the link for the petition, and they needed 30,000 signatures. So everybody go over it, go sign that. It's for our health, right? Right. Okay. So that's how it gets in our food. So which foodstuffs are like the main sources for that? Now I did name some foods, um, but the food groups that contribute most to the dietary cadmium exposure are cereals, cereal products, vegetables, nuts, and I'm not sure what pulses are, but things like that. Starchy roots or potatoes, and meat products. So, and that's because all those things are the meat. Of course, like I said, they're gonna be. It's gonna those animals will be eating whatever it is that the cadmium is in, just the same way we would. So they would digest it, and also they would breathe the same way it gets into us, the same way it gets into the animals, and then we consume the animals. Um, so here's a note here. Due to their high consumption of cereals, nuts, oils, seeds, and pulses, vegetarians have a higher dietary exposure. So, and this is also the case for people who regularly consume bivalve mollusks or wild mushrooms. So, let's see here. I want to go and talk about I have several things here. Let me close that. Again, I did mention about it being about fish could be it could be in fish as well, but I think by and large, just know your risk, your exposure, and then what you can start to do to eat, because it could be in anything, but there is a there is a way. And we did talk a little bit about touch on how you would know what it if you had metal poisoning or anything like that. But so I will briefly go over the symptoms again. If you've been overexposed to either mercury, lead, arsenic, or cadmium, the symptoms that are associated with this is headaches, abdominal pain and cramping, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, fatigue, and difficulty breathing. Now, so you would get this if you've been overexposed, like even once you reach your maximum level of exposure, because it doesn't just come out of the body, then you would start to experience a lot of this. Now, that being said, if you just all of a sudden got like a very high exposure all at one time, you will probably experience a lot of this like right away. So this is like a gradual type of thing. Um, but it might take a while for you to reach that level. So in the severe cases of chronic heavy metal poisoning, you'll experience symptoms, or you might experience these symptoms: burning and tingling sensations, chronic infections, brain fog, visual disturbances, insomnia, and then paralysis. And we talked a little bit about the foods that you could eat. So if you were trying to do a detox from this, and the therapy for this is and it's I will say this because this is not medical advice. This is just we're having a conversation, okay? Just don't go run and tell your doctor I told you this, or try and blame it back on me. I'm just giving you some information. We're sharing. I am not a doctor, so just a disclaimer: I'm not a doctor, and this is not given to be medical advice. But the therapy for this is there is chelation therapy for this. When you've been exposed to those heavy metals, and yeah, there's chelation therapy, and then there's the heavy metal detox. And these treatments are not backed by research. A lot of them are not, but there's some, but these are some of the those are some of the therapies that are that can be used. There are foods that are known to bind to these metals and remove them in the digestive process. And so that's what we're going to talk about: how you can naturally help yourself. Okay. Um, if you're not getting the recommended daily intake of vitamins, you want to consider taking a supplement. Vitamins B, B6, and C deficiencies are associated with poor tolerance of heavy metals and easier toxicity. So if you're deficient, those it's easier for you to feel the effects of the heavy metals. So vitamin C has been reported to have a chelating effect on iron. And of course these were animal studies that are done to give us this information. Um, Let's see. So you want to foods that you want to avoid. We'll start there. Rice and brown rice. And I think I might have told you, well, I don't think I said that the other day, I'm not sure. But rice and brown rice, specifically because these they contain arsenic. So some fish, such as the larger, long living fish, they tend to contain more mercury. And, I mentioned tuna, because they talk about tuna as often being having a lot of mercury in them. Alcohol and non-organic foods. And again, I did say that it doesn't matter with the foods whether it's organic or not non-organic foods as to which may have mercury. That is true. However, there may be some farms that take, extra precaution. They don't use, with organic foods, they're not using pesticides, or they're not using those pesticides that contain the phosphates that would, lead to cadmium and stuff like that. So they're using they're using natural pesticides and natural ways to eliminate the pests from the foods. They would tend to amend the soil better and have better soil conditions and do more testing and things like that. So organic foods, it may be better, but it depends on each farm. It varies, from person to person as to how, every cook's kitchen is different, right? So it's the same way with that. Um, so let's talk about the symptoms of lead poisoning in particular, since that's one of them. Lead poisoning: abdominal pain, abdominal cramps, aggressive behavior, constipation, sleep problems, headaches, irritability, loss of developmental skills in children, loss of appetite, fatigue, high blood pressure, numbness or tingling in the extremities, memory loss, anemia, and kidney dysfunction. And since a child's brain is still developing, lead can lead to intellectual disabilities. And those symptoms may include behavioral problems, low IQ, poor grades in school, problems with hearing, short and long term learning difficulties, and growth delays. And high toxic doses of lead, and remember, for children, it doesn't even take, there is no level, no, that's safe for children. So if it's, there's no level that's safe for any of us, right? But in if you a high toxic dose would be severe abdominal pain and cramping, vomiting, muscle weakness, stumbling when walking, seizures, coma, encephalopathy. I don't know why I was about to get tongue tied on that. Which manifests itself as confusion, coma, and seizures. And if someone's had lead exposure, of course, call 911. If you think that someone's been exposed to lead, and that was some of the things that they were seeing in those children in Flint. So, so that was like really, that's why it was so bad. And they, again, still have not resolved that issue. What are the common sources of lead? Now, this is what I was saying about the houses. House paint made before 1978. Toys and household items painted before 1976. Toys made and painted outside of the United States. Bullets. Well, they used to say, "I'm gonna fill you with lead," right? Bullets, curtain weights, and fishing sinkers made of lead, pipes and sink faucets, which can contaminate drinking water, which was the problem with Flint, right? It was, I think, all the public pipes, though. Soil polluted by car exhaust or chipping house paint, paint sets and art supplies, jewelry, pottery, and lead figures, storage batteries, kohl or kajal eyeliners. Kajal, which just means kohl, which is the black eyeliners. And some traditional, they say traditional medicines or ethnic type medicines. So, how do they treat for lead? Again, is to locate the source and get you away from the source, right? And then, again, the chelation therapy can be used. And this is a treatment, again, that binds the lead that's accumulated in your body and then it's excreted out through the urine. So chemical chelators that are used most often can include EDTA and DMSA. EDTA has side effects that include kidney dysfunction, and DMSA can often cause nausea, abdominal distress, and allergic reactions. So the treatment for it isn't great, right? So that's just about lead. And let's see here. That was about lead and cadmium. So we're going to talk about the foods for heavy metal poisoning, because all of them will involve some uh, the chelation type therapies and detoxes and all of that. So if we're doing a detox, a natural heavy metal detox, you would want to, trying to remove these toxins. I think I mentioned some of the foods before. So blueberries, they contain a natural aspirin called salicylates. Salicylates, yeah. And that reduces damaging effects of inflammation. And so they're very high in antioxidants, and they have an antiviral effect, which helps to prevent infections and protect cells from free radicals. So blueberries can help with that. And it's been proving that consuming organic wild blueberries or organic wild blueberry extract may help detox heavy metals from the brain's lymphatics, and detoxify the brain by inhibiting a particular protein that blocks the brain's cleansing process. So wild blueberries. Again, you just want to know where you're getting your stuff from. That's why they can't use the areas where they made a lot of chemical stuff, and they can't use the soil from that area. They call it they call it brown. They call it something brown, right? Because it's a place where, like, you can't build there. People can't live there. It's because the ground has been contaminated, and so that area is usually fenced off. It's uninhabitable because of the toxicity of it, of the place, because of the chemicals that will have been leached into the ground there, and so you can't live there, and so therefore you wouldn't be able to grow food there and things like that. So you just want to make sure that where it's a good, clean, environmental type place where you're getting these wild blueberries. Or if of course, if it's grown on an organic farm, you can talk to them about that, and what they're doing in the area. So, but you would want to try blueberries. Um, let's see. There's a mushroom that you can use. It's called, and mushrooms are fungus, but it's called chaga, and it's a type of fungus that grows on the bark of birch trees in colder climates and has been used for centuries to boost immunity, detox, and promote overall health. And it contains powerful antioxidants called superoxide dismutase, and which is essential for cleansing the liver and for cellular regeneration. So that's a mushroom that you could, and I don't look. Google is your friend because I can't tell you where you can go find. Well, I told you where you could find that mushroom, but yeah, I'm coming back to check and see if I got any questions or anything. All right. So I told you where you could find the mushroom. All right. You can find it on, it's on birch trees, right? Let's see. Lemons. I think we discussed that. Lemons are so fruits and vegetables that are high in vitamin C can reduce the damage caused by heavy metal toxins by acting as an antioxidant. And vitamin C helps to convert toxins into to a water soluble form that may be eliminated easily from the body. And lemons restart the digestion by stimulating enzymes. And effective digestion is a core of detoxification. So foods high in vitamin C are bell peppers, organic black currants, citrus fruits, organic wild blueberries, guava, parsley, kiwis, broccoli, papayas, strawberries. So those are some foods that are high in vitamin C, but lemon. So lemon with water would be great if you were trying to do that. So the next food would be garlic. So how to do detox from arsenic and lead naturally, you would want to use herbs like garlic and onion because they both contain sulfur, which helps the liver detoxify itself. So, and it's great for um, arsenic detox as well as for lead again. And garlic promotes the liver to produce detoxification enzymes, which helps filter toxins from the digestive system. What else could we use? You could use flax, hemp, and chia seeds. So these seeds contain essential omega-3 fatty acids and are high in fiber, and fiber helps with cleansing the colon. And omega-3 fatty acids reduce inflammation and are required in all liver functions, including detoxification. So, how do you detox from mercury, for example? Like, because fish, again, and fish oil may contain heavy metals. And we talked about tuna. And I just keep mentioning tuna because that was always on my mind from when I learned about that when I was pregnant about eating tuna. Because, like I said, I don't eat red meat, so I tend to eat a lot of fish, and tuna was one of my favorites, and I was advised against eating a lot of tuna or making sure I knew that the source where get the tuna, where I got the tuna from, and all that. But so the seeds that are rich in omega-3s, they provide the body with the necessary essential fatty acids when cleansing. If anybody knows a great way to make hemp seeds taste better, let me know. All right. Green vegetables. So green vegetables are, some of the most powerful heavy metal environmental toxins and pesticide cleansing foods, mainly due to the chlorophyll they contain. So I had mentioned that before. Plants give us chlorophyll. That's, because they are actually cleaning our air and our environment and all of that. But chlorophyll for us, it helps the liver to detoxify, increasing blood oxygen levels and purifies blood cells. So how to detox from aluminum poisoning? An aluminum detox would require a large number of antioxidants, and the best way to do this is to add as many green leafy vegetables to your diet as possible. Now, I didn't mention how you could get aluminum into how you get, because I spent a lot of time talking about lead, um, and cadmium. Mentioned mercury there a bit, but I didn't talk about aluminum. So let's address aluminum for a minute here. Your I was going to say your deodorants, right? I don't know if you ever read on the label on your deodorants where it says it, where sometimes they say that it's aluminum free. But how would you get that into your? How would you get aluminum in your body? You would get it just like that, swiping those pits with that deodorant that has aluminum in it. That's one way. Remember, the skin is the largest organ on the body. And so, whatever you put on your skin, on the surface of your skin, it is absorbed through the skin into your blood system, into your body. So, if you're putting a deodorant on and it has aluminum in it, then you're just giving it a direct path into your body. Okay? So, that's one way. The other way is through, and I know that somebody may say, no, it's not true, but through the aluminum that we use, like the cans, aluminum cans, they have the sodas in them, it's leaching in there. Whether you believe it or not, it is leaching into the food. How would I know? How would you know? Well, try this on for size. When the food is put into the cans, like say soda for instance, soda has acids in it, and like phosphoric acid, especially the brown sodas like the colas or whatever, the soda. And I mean, that's enough to like help to, you know cause issues with your bones, right? I mean, I watched my uncle, like I watched him pour, and I've seen people do this with cola. You can just look at it on a video somewhere. You see people take a cola and pour it on a battery and watch it, bubble up and take all the acid off. Use it to clean the surfaces of things. So why do you not think that it's not doing a little something to the can, especially if it's like a dark soda or something like that? Hey, listen, listen, listen. I'm just saying. But nonetheless, you know that if you cook with a cast iron skillet, you get a little bit of iron into your food, right? We know that. So why not if you're cooking with one of those other pans like aluminum? And aluminum foil, you can even see that if you get a cheap, cheap aluminum foil. Have you ever seen the aluminum peel off of the aluminum foil? Have you ever seen the rust that comes on those aluminum pans and things? Yeah, that's how it gets into your food. So, but good news is green vegetables can help you detox. Make sure you have enough veggies like broccoli, cucumbers, kale, spinach, celery, sprouts, and arugula. Those are just some of the green vegetables that you can just consume to try and detox, right? Beetroot. Beetroots. Beets have an important role in the liver and eliminate toxins. Now, mind you, we've said liver a lot, right? Because liver is what's going to help us to detoxify our bodies, right? It's one of our body's filters, right? So it's going to help us. So beetroots have an important role in the liver and eliminate toxins. Beets are full of vitamins like B3, B6, and C, and minerals like magnesium, calcium, zinc, and iron. These vitamins and minerals help the liver to break down toxins. A fiber component called betaine in beets promotes digestion to effectively eliminate all the harmful toxins from the body. Now, I did some wonderful things with betaine. Oh, I just love betaine, but that's a story for another day. So, we talked about what the heavy metals are and how they get into our body. Um, Pesticides again contain heavy metals, and they're um, frequently used in non-organic foods, which is why if you can get organic foods. But we also get the toxins from the tap water, from the air we breathe, and again, just from the food that we eat. So these metals, they include mercury, lead, arsenic, cadmium, and aluminum. And unfortunately, they're associated with diseases like cancer, cardiovascular disease, Alzheimer's, and many behavioral disorders in children. Just so that you know, a lot of beauty products contain a good amount of harmful heavy metals. So, for instance, you can find lead still in lipstick and in some sunscreens. They have heavy metals in them. So, I used to make cosmetics. So, I always try to, or skincare products, hair care products, you know, makeup, things like that. I always tried to make sure that everything that I used did not have any of those types of chemicals, and we used um, natural types of colorants and things like that to color food. Actually, for color, is what I did. Things that your kids may or that you may have. You often see people give their babies their keys, and the babies put the keys in their mouth. Sometimes those car keys and house keys are made of lead, so you want to be careful with that. Don't let your babies play with the car keys. Furniture can, the finishes on the furniture sometimes, and sometimes on fabrics, may contain metals like cadmium. And so, again, the aluminum can be found in deodorants, tap water, in some medications, um, in salt, and even in sugar, because aluminum, it's like it's just right there. So the metals are harmful to our body, but we can, do our best to try and eliminate them with a detox diet by take trying to get all those foods and detoxify yourself. A good 7 days is a great place to start. Okay. I think that is all that I have for today. I'm checking to see if we have any questions, any comments, or anything like that. So if you enjoyed today's topic, if I hope this was helpful to everyone, about what it is that you can do, and make sure that we covered everything, because I want to give you the most information possible. And I just bring this up because, like I said, there were two articles in there, and there were the herbs and spices, and I know that we're in that season, and I know that, hey, I'm a big spinach lover, and I eat spinach in my smoothies and all of that. So, and if you all are like me, I mean, my kids love spinach, and I mean, I can't think of a time when we really don't eat spinach. So, so that's why I wanted to just make us aware of that. Again, there's probably some things I left off, like this stuff is popping into my head right now. If you're remodeling your house and your house was built before 1978, I would say, even before 1980, I would say, because maybe somebody still has some old paint sitting around, something like that, then you would really, you want to be careful when you're, trying to fix up the house and you're chipping away the old paint, because that would cause you to breathe in some lead dust, right? Um, Again, the herbal medicines, which would be like the ethnic medicine, well, just herbal medicines, may have lead in them. If you got some old dinnerware, um, or they may have heavy metals in those herbs, right? Because we talked about those. Old dinnerware may have been coated, but maybe not very well, because lead, china, all that kind of stuff. So just want to make us aware of that. And again, the drinking water can be contaminated. But do your detox for 7 days if you think that you've been exposed. Try a 7-day detox, eating the foods that we have discussed. And if you like this type of content, go ahead, give us a thumbs up, like the video, follow me on all my social medias. Again, that is Haps at SAIRNT, Facebook at SAIRNT, YouTube at SAIRNT, Instagram at Some Sweet Foods, Twitter at Some Sweet Foods. Okay, and you can get the podcast on Anchor and anywhere you get your podcasts from. Thank you, thank you, thank you for joining me today. If you like this content, again, like us, like the videos, follow, subscribe, and give us a comment. All right, and share the content with your family and friends. It's important for all of us to have good health. All right, till next time. I just want to say to you all, have a great and happy weekend, and peace and blessings.